Next is the budget hearing. So we will now open the hearing for the proposed fiscal year 2018 budget amendment. There is no one scheduled to speak. Is there anyone who would like to comment on the 2018 fiscal year budget amendment? If not, I'll entertain a motion to close the budget hearing on the amendment. Motion to close the meeting on the budget amendment.
So moved.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Any additional discussion? Hearing none.
The vote is open. The vote is unanimous.
Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda is the curriculum and instruction update. Dr. Perry.
Good evening. So tonight's curriculum and instruction update is going to focus on professional development because although summer is an opportune time for teachers and staff to rest and recharge, it is an excellent opportunity also for professional development. And for the past several weeks, most of our teachers have been participating in the professional development that workshops that we've been holding here at Lincoln Way, which is listed in your documents in your packet. So first we offered several different workshops. The first several focused on a social emotional emphasis. We had a workshop on mindfulness, teaching strategies for kids with stress and anxiety. We then moved on to intervention emphasis, ways to get students who are struggling, intervention help, and for students with struggling in classes. We then focused on technology. We had 4 different dates for technology, all focused on moving forward with Microsoft Office 365, one of which is still coming up in August. This was by far our greatest attended workshops over the summer so far. We also focused on getting teachers ready to teach summer school, and then a workshop devoted to continuing embedding SAT into our district, moving forward with that. So if you wanted to look at summer professional development by the numbers, we offered 13 different workshops just here at Lincoln Way. We had 26 different teachers and leaders actually put in the time to plan and present these workshops to their colleagues. So all in all, we offered 21 hours of technology. We offered over 24 hours of social emotional strategies for our teachers. We offered 18 hours of interventions for struggling students. And we had over 30 teachers show up at each of these workshops. So all in all, we had over 630 hours of professional development and for our Lincoln Way teachers just this summer. In addition, lots of our course groups get together. So all the world history teachers will get together and they do curriculum revision and development. So all in all, after all of the course groups got together, over 300 hours of curriculum work were also logged already this summer by our teachers as well. Teachers also take all sorts of opportunities to head to other outside professional development opportunities. We had teachers head out to the Northwestern University College Board workshops, the AP Summer Institute. We even had our anatomy teachers head to the Gross Anatomy for Teacher Education workshop where they participated in a cadaver lab. So very dedicated teachers doing dedicated things. So moving forward, at the end of the school year, I wanted to see where we should go here from here with professional development. What were interests of the teachers? What were the interests? What were the needs? Where should we go? So overall, on the survey, the results showed that teachers would like more professional development in terms of student motivation and social emotional growth. In terms of instruction, they would love to be able to continue sharing lesson ideas and best practices with each other. In terms of assessment, we're going to continue moving forward with embedding SAT, SAT embedded into our classes and into before and after school prep. With technology, we are continuing to move forward with Office 365. And so for next year, what it looks like. In the morning sessions that we have mapped out throughout the school year, we are going to focus on that instructional strategy teaching, where the teachers will be doing a lot of strategy sharing. Social emotional learning will be the focus of our lunch and learns, as well as motivation, attendance, and SAT. And then we will continue to provide workshops, sessions, and support for moving forward with our Microsoft 365 in our district. So with that, speaking of technology, I'll turn it over to Brian, who will take it from here.
So I'm not going to go over anything in the world of technology. However, what I'm going to talk about tonight is a little bit of our SAT review and previews. I'm kind of comparing where we were last year to the most recent results that we have from the spring assessment that we just finished. So looking at last year, this is our class of seniors that have just graduated, and this is the results. The state of Illinois was a 1018, Lincoln Way 210 was an 1108. So a 90-point difference between the state and Lincoln Way. This is the first year that our students here at Lincoln Way took the SAT.
So
Not bad results.
Spring of 2017, so 2 springs ago.
So this is the first year, and one of the things that we looked at as we tried to compare is we look at the math and the English, the evidence-based reading and writing section, and we always said, man, if we could just get those math numbers to be up there with our evidence-based reading and writing, we'd be in really good shape. And that's been a lot of our focus over the last year. So here's just kind of a reminder of how the two tests, the ACT and the SAT, how they compare. Remember, our number was 1108, which is just above a 22 as compared to the ACT. So this chart here is just updated this last spring. ACT and SAT finally got together and really hammered it out and said, you know what, this is pretty good comparison from one test to the next, and this is what they're planning on going with for the unforeseen future. So there's that. So now here we go. These are our most recent results from the test that was just taken this past spring. This is our class of 19, and here are our results. So if we look at the state of Illinois, and what do you see up on the chart here is you see the growth that's occurred from the PSAT, which was taken in the fall, as compared to the SAT, which is taken in the spring. So we look at the state, and the state had a 992 in the fall, and they grew that to a 1012 in the spring on the SAT, a growth of 20 points. Lincoln Way, 1048 to an 1112, a growth of 64 points. That growth is obviously more than 3 times the growth of what the state has experienced. College Board, out of all of their analysis and details that they've been doing over the past 17, 20 years, they would anticipate that the growth from the PSAT to the SAT would be about 48 points. So we've even exceeded that amount of growth. So our students are doing a really great job. One of the other things that it's important to note is that for our PSAT that we took in the fall, 100% of our students took it. Every single junior took the PSAT. As compared to the state, only 68% of the state, the juniors, took the PSAT. So really, at the state level, it's more the students that are really motivated, wanting to try and get ahead, to get an edge on taking that SAT in the spring. Those are the students that take it. Here at Lincoln Way, with the benefit, we get great benefit for our students to be able to take that PSAT, and we've provided that for them. So now, I talked a little bit about how we were pushing the math, but this is the first year in probably 17 years that math has outscored the English side for any type of an assessment like that. So our math department is super proud, super psyched right now that they really worked hard to get that number up to where we're beating out the English side. One thing that we have heard through the grapevines is that evidence-based reading and writing portion of the SAT was much more difficult this year. Pretty much any student that we've talked to said it was really hard. It was a really hard test. And you'll see, as I dig more and more into it, we'll see more of the results. From there, the results that we got, I took a little quick look at the PSAT, and I broke it down into our quartiles. It's important to look at our quartiles so we can identify those students really where we need to continue to push them. So what we saw as we compared the PSAT to the SAT is that we are continuing to push all of our quartiles over to the right more. They're all growing. The minimum growth was about 50 points on average from the 620 to the 670. And we're seeing a lot more growth at the higher ends. So what we're going to continue to do is kind of focus on those lower 2 quartiles and help push them along so that we can get them to experience a little bit more success when they go to taking the SAT. So discussion points. One thing that we're really proud of is that we are producing consistent results. Our students are doing consistent results from year to year. We're right around the same plane. An 1108 to an 1112, we had a growth of 4 overall from year to year as compared to an apple to an orange for 2 different classes. Our math curriculum this past year really focused on embedding test prep questions in their daily lessons, in their review packets, and on their assessments. All of our curricular areas continue to prepare students for both the ACT and the SAT, whether they're doing an in-class review, they're doing before school and after school prep sessions, we're doing practice tests over the weekend. So we're really providing a lot of prep opportunities for our students to take the ACT and the SAT. The future of the state assessment. So this is an exciting time. The state of Illinois finally came out on Monday and declared that they were going to enter into an agreement with SAT for 3 years and provide all 9th, 10th, and 11th graders with a spring assessment. So what that means is that in the spring, our 9th graders will take the PSAT 9, our sophomores will take the PSAT 10, and our juniors will take the SAT, all conducted in the spring. And that's going to be the state assessment for that year. In the past, we've provided those same 3 tests in the fall for our students, for the freshmen, sophomores, and juniors. Moving forward, we will continue to provide the PSAT for our juniors, which is the PSAT NMSQT, which is the test that really helps qualify our students for the National Merit Scholarship. So that's really important for our juniors to kind of take that and hopefully get recognized. We'll continue to provide that in our fall. Our next steps as we look forward, I talked a little bit about it, is we're going to continue to identify those students that performed in the 3rd and the 4th quartiles and really help to focus in on preparing them for their SATs moving forward. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
This is the 3 years of our math, correct?
This is our juniors that just took the SAT with the first of all 3 years. Correct.
All right. Just a quick question. Do all juniors in the state of Illinois take the SAT?
This past year, it was the state mandated test. Yes.
So, but I mean, do every student who is a junior have to take it?
This past year, absolutely.
Like
Graduation requirement.
It is great. Yes.
Then will we still offer the PSAT to freshmen and sophomores in the fall?
At this time, we will not. We're going to switch their assessment into the spring, and then that will give us a better study, be able to monitor their growth from year to year to year. Because that's the model that the state is moving to. They're moving to more of a growth model, so they want to be able to track how a freshman does when he's a sophomore and a junior.
Any other questions? Brian?
Brian, how many technology cards have we added in the last 2 years?
Sure. This past year, we started the year with only 7 carts. Throughout the year, we've added another 14 carts. Each cart has 32 laptops on it. They're distributed evenly amongst all 3 of our buildings. So, as it stands today, there are 7 carts in each building. We are growing that number over the summer to have an additional 21 carts through the district. So there will be 14 carts in each building that our teachers will be utilizing in a one-to-one environment. So, and again, each cart has 32 laptops on them, and students will utilize them on a daily basis. 42 teachers overall.
Isn't the foundation provided some of it? Correct. They have a number of those cards. And Brian and Cheryl will share their technology plan at an August board meeting. That's one of the things that's on our goals. So it was ready for this meeting, but with 20 action items, we bumped it off.
Smart decision.
Yes.
Okay, thanks again, Brian. Next is our consent agenda. On the consent agenda this evening is the approval of the regular minutes of the May 17, 2018 meeting, approval of the closed meeting minutes of May 17, 2018, approval of the payrolls from May 18, 2018, June 5, 2018, June 20, 2018, and out-of-state travel. Does anyone wish to have any of those pulled and discussed separately? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Where it goes to participation. All right. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, vote please.
Vote is open. The motion is unanimous.
This agenda item is the fiscal year 2018 budget amendment. Brief overview of what this is.
Yes. All right, so before you tonight is the proposed or tentative budget amendment that's been on display for the last 30 days to meet state law. And of course, we just had the hearing, and the reason for the amendment is several items. The first would be After the adoption of the budget, we had just finished the audit. Once a year, we get from the state what our on-behalf TRS payments will be. And it really can fluctuate depending on what the state decides they're going to pay towards their portion of TRS. In prior years, it had been lower, around the 24 million. Well, in this last year, it was 34 million. So we had already adopted the budget, already had things set. We had set it lower. Since we were in the process of amending, we went ahead and increased our TRS on behalf. Now, this is just a book entry for the district. Has no effect on our cash balance, has no effect on anything. It's just us recording what down there they're paying on behalf of our teachers into the state retirement system. So we moved that up to 36 million from 24 to just be in line with where we think the state's going to be, because that was an area we were off on our budget. Then that's on page 2. Going to page 4 would be the next change we would have in the budget. And really what this is, as you know, during the year we had to go ahead and do some additional interfund loans. And so we would go ahead to pay those interfund loans back. We just wanted to clean up and have the budget match up with what we actually had needed to do. We hadn't anticipated having to do that additional loan. So we've added those. Finally, then going to page 5. This is really, page 5 is kind of a hook, if you will, to the expenditures related to IMRF. During the process, it became obvious in the last few months that we were going to be about $30,000 over in Fund 50, and we cannot overexpend in any one fund. And tax collection, as you know, is very strong, so we're adding $50,000 to each one of our anticipated tax lines, which then, if you go over to page 15, that's where we've then added an additional expenditure in Fund 50, which is IMRF and Social Security, and which we were going to, if we didn't amend the budget, would be about $34,000 over budget on a $2.6 million fund. So apologize for cutting that so tight, but that was really the need. Then, as long as we were talking about this, we had another item we wanted to go ahead and bring forward. It wasn't part of the discussion back when the original budget was adopted, and that was the district's consideration of the IMRF early retirement incentive that we have balanced. So this was back from 2010. A group of employees were allowed to retire into this option, and it created a liability for the district. That liability has been amortized over 10 years, but it's amortized over 10 years based on what IMRF sees that your rate should be based on your estimated payrolls. And so it may or may not be exactly paid off within the 10 years. Ours has been dragging out there. So this is from 2010, we're already in 2018, and we still have a sizable balance on this thing. So what we would propose is we went ahead and built into this amended budget an opportunity to go ahead and pay that off. So that would be on page 15, or 16, I apologize, 16, and that would be payments to other governmental agencies, and this would be to pay off that IMRF ERI. We can talk about that more later when we get to that actual resolution, but the bottom line is they're charging us 7.5% interest, and our borrowing is substantially below that, so it makes sense that we should consider this. And so we put it in the budget. Doesn't mean we have to do it, but we've got it in there in case later in the meeting we decide to do that. So with that, that's everything there is to do with the amendment.
Before I entertain the motion, any questions of Brett?
What was causing the increased expenditures in the IMRF?
It's really just, it's a normal expenditure increase from the amount of the salaries and whatever. I've just been calculating it out, just cut it too tight. Moving forward, probably in our next budget, I probably will recommend that we have small contingency Not that we ever expect to use it, but would, in a case if I did calculate things a little too tight, would allow us to not have to go through the budget amending process. So that one thing we can discuss when we start to look at the 2019. But, nothing extraordinary, and IMRF or FICA has changed. The rates, the rates go up every year. Rates went up about what we expected, just that salaries were slightly a little more, and I just had cut it pretty darn tight, and so we ended up being about $34,000 over budget on $2.6 million.
So what was highlighted was pupil transportation services?
Right. So, and just for simplicity, the state law is we can't overexpend in any one item. So we went through, looked at the different things. This is the one that we felt we just go ahead and increase. I mean, we could have went through and I could have put a little bit on every one. This is one that is, so we just went ahead and put it there. So.
The early retirement incentive, what was the original amount of that in 2010?
I don't have that. I can get that.
And then, are there any other kind of quasi loans out there at this rate that we're currently?
No. So, well, the only other things the district would have, obviously other than bonds and that kind of thing, would be, we have a small operating lease on some technology that is coming to an end, and then we have our ongoing operating lease on our buses, and that rate's very reasonable. And then really there's nothing like this in TRS, so this is the only thing that would have it is IMRF.
I guess it's kind of a budget. So the interest on this, where was that flowing through on the budget? The interest on this?
So the interest on this IMRF ERI is just factored into our rate, and so it just gets spread across all of salaries. So they don't charge you a specific, like, okay, here's the interest on the stuff. They just capitalize it back to the amount that you owe, and then they just readjust your rate to what they think you're going to be able to get things paid off. And so then that rate then is charged off to every one of our individual salary line items. So it's really embedded in the total cost of the IMRF.
So we've checked the rest of the budget for anything outside the threshold that we would legally have to change.
Right, yep. We're looking good. On the rest of the budget, it looks like we're going to be fine. We're going to be under, so we're good.
Any other questions?
You have in here, it saves the district approximately $39,000 annually for 2 more years?
No. This would be, the $39,000 is not hard to quantify. That's the current balance less the difference between the 7.5 and our estimated TWA, our TAWs. At that point, we're looking at like 2.95. Just calculated out the difference. That's easy to do. What's unknown is I can't tell you how many years it would have taken us to pay off this IMRF. They just continue to look at your rate, look at what they think your salaries are going to be, and reassign you a new rate. It's obviously, we were supposed to have this thing done in 10, we've already been paying an 8, and we still have a sizable balance. So.
All right, if not, I'd entertain a motion to adopt resolution number 2018-10, amending the budget for fiscal year 2018 as presented in the package. Is there a motion? There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Any additional discussion? Hearing none. Vote, please.
Second. The vote is closed. The motion is unanimous.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is the Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund Early Retirement Incentive Payment that we just discussed.
All right, well, we've kind of already jumped into this. Really not much more to say, other than I think it's financially prudent for the district to go ahead and to go ahead and make this payoff and to go ahead and save the additional interest expense. It will have, of course, an impact on our tax anticipation warrants. We will be needing to borrow that $576,000 more, but that's just for a shorter window of period. You know that we have those TAWs outstanding, and it's at a substantially reduced rate.
Just to make sure I understand the timing for the questions.
No, go ahead.
So this will be done in this fiscal year?
That is correct.
And the TAW then repayment of the warrants that have been drawn to cover the cash shortfalls for this year, just the $600,000 will be paid before we re-up next year?
Yeah, so where we're at with the TAWs right now is we're actually into our cash high point.
Right.
So we're in the process of paying those off.
Right.
We will have those all paid off by, I believe, September. September. And so, you know, what it's going to do is it's going to lower our cash balance. And so then moving forward, coming into the fall, if we didn't pay this off, then we would be, you know, look at the 2019 cash flow, we'd be $500,000 higher. So when you look at that cash flow, it's, might as well discuss this too. I know it's getting into all of these kind of mixed together. So, you know, if you look at our individual funds, you know, we try not to maintain too high a balance in any of our restricted funds, if you will. So that's like IMRF, TORT, you know, transportation, any of that. So ed fund or working cash is where you should maintain your appropriate fund balance. O&M you can maintain, you know, depending on what projects you have coming. That really should be in capital. Well, so because the IMRF fund balance was actually a little high, I had wanted to make sure we didn't have any tax objections, so I actually under-levied a little to start to bring that down. Well, that was previous, and as you know, it takes 18 months for a tax levy to really go from passing to collection and being done. So you're going to see in the 2019 cash flow that actually we're going to be pretty tight now. If we do go ahead and pay this off, we're actually going to pull down that cash, and we're going to be tight in that fund. We'll have to do a little small loan to it, which is perfectly legal from the ed fund, but then by the end, the taxes will roll in and we'll be fine. And so it's going to be a good, if we do it, it'll be a nice thing, and we'll go ahead and pull down that balance and bring it more into line, but it's going to put a little cash crunch on us for just a little bit in 2019.
So we're paying this from accumulated funds, but that's assuming that tax revenue is coming in this month, correct? Because the May balances, I don't think were enough to pay it.
No, this fund, well, at the end of the year, this fund had, so it's two different, so cash flow versus fund balance. Fund balance, you know, the ending day, this fund had $900,000. That's a substantial balance. Cash flow wise, in order to make it through its high and low points, $900,000 was plenty for it to make it through, which you would think, okay, you know, shouldn't, anyway. Long and short, now if we drop it down to $400,000, that's not quite going to be enough to make it through its actual cycle, so we'll have to just do a small loan in there. But
in doing so, that saves us the $39,000 that you're
Yes.
talking about for
Yes.
1 year. For 1 year. Right?
for 1 year, that's ongoing until it would have been paid off.
So I see cash balances of 531. Because this is what I was asking, of 458,000 in Fund 50. So you're taking, there's going to be a tax payment coming in.
Right.
That's going to cover the rest of this.
Exactly,
We're saying
yes.
it's coming from accumulated funds.
I see your question now. Yes, the tax payment that came in today is going to store that fund up enough. We'll be able to make the payment out of that fund, and we'll be fine rolling in. But then when you know, mid-year, where we get low in that fund.
I mean, this has been outstanding since 2010. The question is, why haven't we, you know, considered paying it any earlier?
Because we've run deficits every year. So with deficits every year, we've been paying on it But now we're in a position with our surplus. This is where Brad and Kelly brought it forward with this would be a prudent time to at least bring this to the board.
You keep talking about drawing additional warrants throughout the 18-19 year. How confident are you we will have access to said warrants?
Oh, I think we'll be absolutely, well, first off, and I know now we're kind of jumping into 2019 cash flow, but our 2019 cash flow, we're estimating we'll need about 19 million in TAWs. We've already met with Old Second, assuming that's where is our best options. They've assured us that 20 plus is not, 23 is not a problem. So if you look at where we ended this year at 24 million. We think we'll probably make it through 19 at probably that 19 million. So that's a 5 million into the good, maybe even a little better. So the district's in the right way, and Old Second is pleased with our progress that we've made financially. They're definitely all in, no problem.
Talking about additional borrowings that, I just want to make sure.
Can you speak up, please?
We're talking about additional borrowings, just want to make sure we have access to those borrowings.
Right. And when I say additional, I mean additional above what we would have to if we didn't do this. It's going to be lower than in prior years. But
The difference between the 7.5% versus what we're going to borrow against, plus jumping ahead to where I think the surplus is going to be this year, I mean, I think it makes sense to pay this.
Just one, has the interest rate on this typically been around 7.5% in the last several years, or give or take? All right.
I don't know. I would suspect it's probably been, because TRS has been kind of at that rate too on different things that they charge off for.
But we would expect they'd flow the same way, meaning if our cost of the TAWs increase, whatever those increase, it's probably safe to assume that the rate on this is going to increase.
Right.
Well, so there's going to be a margin of savings there.
Right.
Might not be quite as great as it's now, but you can assume that the margin in the coming years.
I would think that's a safe assumption. It wouldn't surprise me to see them change it in the future.
I mean, if you discount this back and just assume 7.5%, I mean, this was a much lower number in 2010, obviously. We're not doing any more of the early retirement incentives or any.
This is all from 2010. There have been none since then through IMRF. This is where that bulk of the 576 was in the 2010 pool of retirees.
How many retirees did we have?
Because it's amortized over the life of their retirement.
Right.
Any other questions?
Would just, you said it's a 10-year, I mean, what happens after 2020 if you didn't pay it?
Honestly, I have not researched that. I'm assuming that they would come to you and say, well, your payrolls weren't what we estimated, so we're going to amortize it some more for you. Or I guess ultimately they could say, pay.
But at 7.5% interest, they make.
I'm sure, yeah, at 7.5%, I don't think they mind collecting the 7.5%. I think it's better than their internal investments. So.
Anything else? I don't know if we want to get to the end of the loan financing this. No, I'm just roll the dice and see what happens. All right. Now, I'll entertain a motion to make the early retirement incentive payment as described in the report packet. So, there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any additional discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote, please.
Vote is open. I'm sorry, it's not open? I'm sorry.
No.
I'll call the vote. Mr. Lucetti?
Aye.
Mr. Lulo?
Aye.
Mr. Janet?
Aye.
Mr. Costick?
Aye.
Mr. Kirby?
Aye. All right, thank you. Next, presentation of invoices for May 2018. I entertain a motion for the presentation of invoices.
Motion to approve the invoice in the amount of $1,775,928.82 dated June 21st, 2018.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion regarding the invoices? Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. What was the boiler invoice at East this month? Last month?
I would guess that would just be for general maintenance, upkeep, and repair, which is not here this evening. But we have routine service on the pipes, on the boiler tubes.
The laptops and desktops that's listed in here, was that the technology that Dr. Murphy was talking about earlier?
Part of it. It's part of it, yes.
Any other questions regarding the invoices? Now we have a motion and a second. Call for a vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote is unanimous. The motion passes.
Thank you. Next is the Treasurer's Report for May 2018. I'll entertain a motion to accept the Treasurer's Report as presented in your package.
So moved.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion. Brad.
Okay, thank you. So as you can see here from my memo, we are in the tax collection season. So we had a very strong tax collection in May. So we had total revenues of just over $14 million. The district expended just over $6 million, bringing our total cash balance to $14.8 million. However, this does include $20.1 million of TAWs, leaving us a negative cash balance of $5.2 million overall, which when you're accounting for outstanding warrants and loans. The district did already begin paying back the 2007 tax anticipation warrants. We paid $3.9 million in May. We've already paid, we're making our second payment in the morning for June, so we'll have 3 payments made by the end of this fiscal year. Already we're down to, at that point, we're down to $20.1 million outstanding. As you can see, based on it, it's going to be exciting as we go into 19. I have a second year in the district. You can see we tightened up my projections. However, tax collections was stronger because of this, payment. People wanted to pay to make sure it's tax deductible. But anyway, you can see we had on the cash flow, $3.5 million variance. We collected 14. I thought we'd only have 10.6 million. Expenditures, though, right in there. That's easier to predict. So we had predicted we'd have 6.8 in expenditures. We actually had 6.4, or $447,000 variance. So overall, everything is going quite well. We're really coming into June strong. I put in your packet what I would project to be our financial end of the year. And we did get just today, we got our second tax payment in June. And I will tell you that this report, this financial report, all funds is already obsolete and outdated because the tax collection came in substantially stronger than thought. So we ended up collecting a good chunk of revenue. So with that being said, tax collection year to date is up about 1.3 million more than we thought. That's a real positive thing for cash flow. Of course, it's for next, because we are on a cash basis accounting, unless that strong collection continues, it really will just come off of next year's amounts. So we'll have to, when we go through the 19 budget, we're going to have to balance that, determine on what percentage we think we will or won't collect of the 18 levy to balance that out. So it's a positive and negative all in one shot. So with that, I just opened up for questions.
Any questions of Brad?
So what are you projecting our surplus to be this year then?
We're still in rough numbers because we're still, in the process of collecting fees and revenue and the process of still paying bills. My best guess at this point I think that we will exceed our revenue budget by about $4 million. And I think we will underspend our original budget by, maybe $500,000 or more, depending on how the last of the bills come in. But we will be under budget on all of the funds. The only one we were going to be not close, but over would have been IMRF, but we never amended the budget. But when you look at the original budget, we'll be underspent on that. So, we're going to be, I'd say we're going to be in that, $7 million over range.
So the surplus will be $7 million?
Right. I think that's a ballpark. Like I said, we're still, going through the books, but we are winding down. We're truing up transportation, claim, blah, blah, blah. We've got a few moving parts left, but we're getting down to it.
So that 1.3 million, you said that was what just in June, you collected 1.3 million more than you were
Right.
expecting here. So, that's really going to come off probably July.
Right. So what's going to happen? That's what I said. The tax receipts, positive and negative, all in one whammo, because there's only so much taxes we're going to collect. When we collect more than the normal percentage in this fiscal year, it's coming off next. And so unless that trend happened the same with the 18 taxes, we will be, needing to adjust what we think we're going to get on the 19. So surplus is higher than expected in 18. Well, we're going to struggle to have the expected surplus in 19 because $1.3 million additional revenue just popped in when we weren't expecting it.
You're attributing the higher collection of taxes to people prepaying, so they're tax deductible. So that'll be obviously the one-time.
Right. People were concerned. They got in, they paid, and so it pushed the collection up.
Just to clarify, you're talking the operating surplus, $7 million, correct?
Correct.
And are you including the extra 500,000 we just approved? 500.
So, if we go ahead, now that's $500,000 off, so we could be south of $7 million if we go ahead and approve with that being approved, yes. So, but it's going to be very.
It is approved.
We already approved.
Well, I'm sorry, it's already approved. Right.
6 or 7 million.
Right.
So 6.5.
Any other questions of Brad? Now we have a motion and a second. We'll open it for a vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote is unanimous. The motion passes.
Next, our student activities report for May 2018. Entertain a motion to accept the student activities report as presented in your package.
So moved.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
Included in your backup materials is the student activity report. As you can see, there are 4 different clubs or sports that were a little bit under. Those will all be cleared up by June 30th, and all accounts will be in positive by the close of the fiscal year, June 30th.
Any questions regarding this report? Now we have a motion and a second. Call for a vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote is unanimous. The motion passes.
Thank you. Next are the personnel reports. Employment. Rob?
Under employment, we have Lindsay O'Farrell, Reading Department Chair at Lincoln Way Central. Katie Streck, Social Worker at Lincoln Way East High School. Katrina Cimaroli, Reading Teacher at Lincoln Way Central. Dana Brown, Special Services Teacher at Lincoln Way West. Bree Granada, Special Services Teacher at Lincoln Way West. Sean Fahey, Head Girls Soccer Coach at Lincoln Way Central. Allison Murphy, Dean, Lincoln Way Central. Brian Gibson, Special Services Teacher at Lincoln Way East. Matt Lawrence, Dean, Lincoln Way West. And Dan Zableski, Dean, Lincoln Way West. I ask the board to approve this employment report as presented.
I entertain a motion to approve the employment report as presented.
So moved.
Or motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion or questions for Rob? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote is unanimous. The motion passes.
Rob, next.
Under retirements, Chester Smirlo was put into retire effective May 29, 2018. I ask the board to approve this retirement as presented.
Entertain a motion to approve the retirement report as presented. There's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Hearing none, call for a vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote is unanimous. The motion passes.
All right, under resignations and leaves, under resignations, Catherine Solkowski, teacher and department chair in Lincoln Way Central, has resigned effective 5/29/2018. Jennifer Winefka, teacher and dean at Lincoln Way West High School, has resigned effective 5/29/2018. And leaves, Amanda Trazer is asked to take a leave for the parental leave for the 2018-2019 school year. I ask the board to approve these personnel recommendations.
Is there a motion to approve the resignation of leaves as presented?
So moved.
There's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion or comments? Hearing none, call for a vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote is unanimous. The motion passes.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is the item to appoint a district treasurer. I'll entertain a motion to approve Brad Kaufman for the position of district treasurer effective July 1st, 2018. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Hearing none, call for a vote, please.
Vote is open. The vote is unanimous. The motion passes.
Thank you. Next is on the agenda is the Treasury Surety Bond. Entertain a motion to adopt Resolution 2018-11 regarding the Lincoln Way Community High School Treasurer Surety Bond. Is there a motion to accept the bond as presented in your package?
So moved.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Brad, I'll just ask the silly question. Can you describe for us what the Treasurer Surety Bond is?
Well, I'll do my best. Okay, so first off, state law requires that the district treasurer be bonded up to 25% of the maximum, if you will, liquid cash. In case of a theft or misappropriation of funds, then the district would have assurance, if you will, back against the company, which is this Liberty Mutual, and able to be able to file for a claim if, say, funds were missing. It's interesting enough, while I'm the named treasurer, if we actually had a claim out, let's say, in one of our buildings, we had something go wrong, we could actually we could file a claim. Just because I'm the named treasurer, it covers the entire district with cash and liability. So if we had actual cash missing, we could file a claim against it, whether we'd settle in our favor or not, But that's in essence what it is. So, the treasurer's bond in the last year in our comment, our audit was we only had $7 million, which was not the required 25%. We've estimated our actual maximum cash would be about $29 million, so we're raising it to $9 million to make sure we have coverage for that.
So we're covered up to 36 million.
Yeah, but
Right, you're projecting 29, so we have
correct.
plenty of.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, we have a motion and a second. I'll call for a vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote is unanimous. The motion passes.
Next agenda item is the resolution for designation of depositories. I'll entertain a motion to accept the resolution of designation of depositories as presented in your package.
So moved.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Hearing none.
Are these,
These are who we're currently, right? So this is just complying with Board Policy 430, which just says that annually the Board of Education will set where we're going to have funds. And so this is no change from prior year. In fact, that we're narrowing the field, if you will. So there's, like old planks not on there and some other, we weren't really using much anyway. So those have been consolidated down.
If you wanted to use another depository, you could just come back to the board.
Right. If there was a need, we would come back and talk to you, but, you can see here we have, quite of options. We really, Illinois funds, PMA, and Old Seconds, that's really where 99% of everything happens.
Any other questions? Now we have a motion and a second. Call for a vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote is unanimous. The motion passes.
Thank you. Next is the Prevailing Wage Act Resolution. I would entertain a motion to accept the Prevailing Wage Act Resolution as presented in your package.
So moved.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
second.
Motion and second. Any discussion or questions regarding this resolution? Anyone?
So we're just going to allow the Department of Labor to set the rate then, as we typically do?
Correct. We have not yet received the chart, so obviously when we do it, it would be enacted.
Any others? If not, we have a motion and a second. I'll call for a vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote is unanimous. The motion passes.
Next agenda item are the goals for the 2018-2019 school year. Entertain a motion to accept the goals as they're presented in your package.
So moved.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
Just real quick, I want to thank the board members for their input as we put these together. Now, these are different than the 5-year strategic plan, yet again, there are some similarities and there are intertwined. These are items that we anticipate completing by June of 2019. Obviously, with our 5-year, we're making significant progress, but not everything will be completed at the annual review this year in December. But curriculum instruction, finance, the technology is embedded in here, as well as community relations, some of the goals for the upcoming school year.
We have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion or comments? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote, please.
Vote is open. The vote is unanimous. The motion passes.
Next item is the student athletic and activity fees for the 2018-2019 school year. I would maybe encourage a discussion before we went to a motion. So why don't we talk a little bit about what happened?
So we received several calls and emails, obviously, as we've heard from parents. In discussions with those parents and different individuals, that we could potentially be challenged on the charging of fees. It would be my recommendation at this time to, if the board still wishes to enact a fee, to change that to $50 per student for any fee or activity. As you can see in the memo that's been posted publicly, we've got John Izzo's opinion in there that it's been challenged. It could be challenged. It has in here different options that we would do to apply the $50 fee to their cafeteria account, apply $50 credit for future use, or receive a $50 refund for those families who have paid it and their child did not participate. We have the exceptions in there, which would be the special education non-participants, free and reduced from the September report, and then any hardship cases will be reviewed per state law. So there would be some estimated diminished revenue, but I think this would be a prudent move moving forward.
Board, any comments?
So is Mr. Izzo's opinion that it's illegal for us to do this, or that he says the potential
Could be challenged.
could be challenged, so it's not necessarily illegal?
Didn't use those terms. His, as you can see, the charging of fees has been challenged several times. He believes it could be challenged.
Any other questions or comments regarding this? Anybody?
I'm obviously in favor of this because I wasn't in favor of charging people who weren't participating, so I definitely think it should be removed.
Thank you.
As far as the three choices for the refund, we have to decide how we're going to do it, or the parents that paid it, no, they can choose any of those three?
They can choose any of those
Gotcha.
three.
Okay.
So an email.
They can have a refund or...
Absolutely. Email would go
It's their
out,
choice,
here
but
are
that's
three
what they have.
options, and they could call.
Gotcha.
They could call the financial secretary and say, I want $25 sent back, I want $25 towards my cafeteria account. We'll work with them on this.
Would it be removed?
So are we going,
Yes.
would the idea be that the fee would only be charged once they participate in an activity going forward?
Well, no, they would have the option, because right now it is an option for them to click. So if you're paying registration, you want to go ahead and pay it, you click on it, you know your kid's going to participate, you're good. If you choose not to pay, then you'll be assessed once your child does participate. And that email is ready to go out tomorrow to those parents who have not yet registered. So we have two different emails ready. One of those who have paid to give the option of just leave it on there, my kid's going to participate, or here's how you get it back. Second email, you have yet to register. If your child participates, you can pay that fee now, or you'll be assessed once your child participates.
And if someone goes into the system to pay fees, is it clear that would it be clear that the it would be a participation fee and only needs to be paid if they're going to be participating?
No, right now it's not clear.
What's the purpose say, Dr. Murphy?
Right now, they can choose to not pay it by not checking the box. It is open for that. I'll add the verbiage to make sure that it includes statements saying that this participation fee if your child is going to pay. And it will appear on Family Access as that. So I'll make that verbiage as part of that fee.
So if you don't know if your child is going to participate in a sport or an activity, once you do, it's coded somehow skyward so that the fee is assessed onto you? Is that correct?
Right.
Okay.
As it should.
So if your kid participates, do you pay a $50 fee and then you're going to get another fee to actually do that activity? So you're actually charged twice? Or is
One
this just
time.
so no extra fees on top of the $50?
$50.
That's it.
$50 gets you in the parking and rides me to right.
That's not
That's
right.
not what you're being told in other areas. That's why I'm trying to clarify.
Okay, no, that's what the board has agreed to.
Well, they haven't agreed.
No, the board hasn't agreed. The proposal is $50. That's the charge for clubs, sports, and activities.
Maybe, Dr. Murphy, as you're rewriting that to make it clearer, maybe that could be included in there so there's no question for those who haven't attended tonight.
I know we're not supposed to be talking like this, but just to be clear, I have a child who plays tennis, who was at tennis for the last 2 weeks, and I was told that there was a whole new system in place and that we were no longer writing a check to pay for uniforms and all that stuff, and that there's a website that we will go to that we will be placing uniforms. So to say that the $50 fee is all that we will be paying is not correct. Because I will be going on a website and I will be buying a uniform for my child, and that is not included in the $50 fee. And I was also told that the website that was selected was a website that strictly sold Nike brand uniforms, and that our uniforms could double in price from what we paid the last 2 years. And we were trying to negotiate kind of splitting the difference, like get a Nike top, but get a cheaper bottom, get a Nike bottom, get a cheap top, so that our $90 fee that we've paid the last 2 years isn't going to be $200 this year to wear a uniform, plus the $50. So just so that you know, that's not what's happening. Okay, and I'm okay with paying $50 for my child to be in whatever the heck she wants to be in, and then to buy the uniform. But I want you to know that we have to buy the uniform. That is not in the $50. So please don't think that it is, unless I was told incorrectly.
I wasn't at the tennis camp, so I can't speak to that.
Okay.
I can tell you that we are going to work closely with our athletic directors so that there's consistency throughout our district in terms of every sport, in terms of what families are being charged, what's being paid, what is being paid for by the district, and what's being paid for by the parent. And that was one of the motivations in moving into this agreement, is to get better pricing and to get better options and to develop that consistency throughout the district. We shouldn't have students at one school paying $200 for their supplies for girls softball and at another school paying $75. It needs to be consistent. Now, I can't speak to what's being paid in the past for tennis or what's planned to be paid. I'll tell you the price is not going to double by us going to this agreement. That's simply not going to happen. But that's something that all coaches and ADs, we will be working through this process. The $50 is an overhead cost. We pay for coaches, we pay for transportation, we pay for the operations of these facilities. We want consistency amongst the user fees in the sports, because I agree with you. Because a lot of the tennis kids, they want to buy their tennis stuff, they want to keep it.
Right.
Girls softball, they want to buy their own pants. They don't want to wear pants that somebody else wore. I completely understand. My boys baseball, they all wear white pants now. They want to buy a new pair for the season. So we're going to develop consistency amongst programs amongst the district.
I would add into that fundraising. I think there should be more clarity around what the funds are going for than sports that are doing fundraising.
And that's already happened, Chris. And we're going to get breakdowns of that next year, or they're not doing any fundraising. We received that this past year, and we're pushing that even harder to control some of it. I agree with you.
So I already, on another note, received notification of what I was supposed to be paying for madrigals, for example. So do I not pay that now because I'm just trying to get clarity to know what am I supposed to be paying? Because I don't know that everybody, even within the different activities, understands what's going on.
Madrigals won't have changed.
So it's not a flat $50 fee, because I'll be paying a madrigal fee and a $50 fee to the district.
Correct.
So what does the $50 fee cover?
Once again, there are incurred costs with every sport and activity we do. With madrigals, the cost of what the students pay to participate does not cover the labor of our cafeteria staff, does not cover our auditorium staff. There are still costs
It actually
incurred.
does, because I work in the kitchen, but that's another thing. But
Well, we're going to get back focused on
Yeah.
the proposal, because now we're into madrigals and tennis.
you don't know the things cost,
Right.
that's the point.
Well, and again, but we know they cost. We understand that. And so last year we had the very segmented, where we're trying to break down activities, sports. This year the proposal was to, as it sits now, is to charge a flat $50 for those that would participate in an extracurricular activity as listed. There was a list of them, was also part of the package. So
Well, I was told in a booster meeting that
We're gonna-
the goal of madrigals is the ticket sales pay for the program.
I understand madrigals inside out, backwards and forwards. I did that for 8
But
years.
now I have to pay 2 fees.
But it doesn't always, the school district doesn't break down right now, and never has to this point, but we're actively pushing in that direction, a cost accounting per function basis.
I understand.
So,
That's
but
why
we're
I
not
want
there
to-
now, so we can't stop and not do anything while we wait for that process to be put in place. Is madrigals accretive? I don't know. It depends on how many people attend, what the ticket charge is, what the cost is for the food, all the other things associated with that. So those are individual things that we have to leave to administration to discuss with the individuals that run those programs. But tonight, we're going to entertain, if we can get a motion in a second, to look at charging a $50 activity fee to those that are participating in activities. It's a fee that they would have to activate as part of the registration process, or later in the year, if they choose an activity that's a spring or later in the year activity.
Just to clarify, it is showing on the bills. You have the option to pay it, but I'm still showing a balance due.
Understood.
So, just so you guys
That'll
understand.
that's part of what we're trying to unwind. We absolutely heard, in addition to the other information.
Okay, I'm just one more
Sure,
interruption,
absolutely.
and I apologize. I
That's
won't do
okay,
it
not to
anymore.
apologize.
In speaking to my concern before about the lack of communication, I'm not going to give you a deadline because you're adults and that's not my place anyway. But I would like to request respectfully correspondence to all of the families about this fee. I don't want people to find out about it logging on to Skyward. I don't want people to find out about it from Facebook. You owe that to all of these families, communication and maybe even an apology.
No, Rebecca, you made that note. I wrote it down. I started.
Okay.
Right there. So we will
So,
have.
I mean, no disrespect,
No, I
but
understand. And no
I'm
disrespect.
insulted.
We're listening.
You know?
We're listening. This
Okay.
was, perfection is
Yeah.
an objective, not necessarily
Right.
obtained.
Right.
So, direction was given. There was a vote. Some voted for, some did not. We're back here to talk about it again. And so now, I would entertain a motion that the proposal is presented in the package.
So moved.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
It's a long memo. Can we read out exactly what the motion is? I'm sorry, just what's a little officer.
Well, I mean, what, you want me to read it to you?
No, I mean, the motion is,
It's a $50 fee if you
It's a
participate.
$50 fee once you participate, once your child chooses to participate in one of the defined in that sub-list activities associated with the school.
A one-time fee.
One-time fee. So if they do a spring, winter, fall, fall, winter, spring, it's $50. If they do a spring, it's $50. If they do a fall, it's $50.
just want to make sure I'm
No,
on
I
the same
understand.
page.
I wasn't sure what I wanted,
I wasn't
what you
trying
wanted
to
me
be,
to read.
was not trying to be facetious at all. Second.
There's a motion and there's a second. Is there any additional discussion? Chris, Aaron? Okay. If not, there's a motion and a second. I'll call for a vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote is unanimous. The motion passes.
Thank you. Thank you for all your input. Next, facility rental policy and rates.
Brad's worked on this with you.
All right, so in accordance with policy 820, annually the district board will approve the rental rates. Just to kind of give you an idea, we'll collect about $360,000 in rental fees to outside organizations. In reviewing the process and trying to bring some uniformity across the district, we felt like there were several things that we needed to do, which we're bringing here tonight. So first thing was to redefine the organizational categories. And so you see there, we've added an additional, so we've got them broken out. We have actually 6. I don't know if the 6th one just to deal with the class of the tutors. So we've done that. Then we've added additional technology charges for our stage tech people, lighting, etc. And then the aquatic rental rates. I want to emphasize this. Probably the area of the biggest change. Pools are very expensive to operate and maintain. We felt like in order to recover our costs, they needed to be more in line with our field house rental rates. So we've aligned those. We've adjusted salaries and that thing for how salaries have increased over the years. And then there was some policy changes needed. So we placed them there for you to look. I can just really highlight them quickly. If you look at policy 7.330, The only thing we needed to clarify there was that this is really saying that students would not be charged and be granted free access. Well, we want to make sure we clarified that because, like, for example, Girl Scouts wants to come in and use our facilities. Well, that's not a student-led group, not what this policy means. This policy means, a group of students get together and they want to form a club or an organization. We're going to allow that. We might even have a sponsor assigned. We're not going to charge them, but the Girl Scouts want to use our facilities. There'd be a rental rate for that. Okay, so that's the change there. Add in there which organizations organized and led by students. Then finally, if you go to the policy 8.20, we need to go ahead and just clarify there that we're really going to be going off the defined charts and then the defined rental as per the table. So just clarifying that. That way the policy can stay from year to year and we know we're going to be referring to our tables to make those rental fees, contracts. So with that, I would really just open it up for questions. And yeah.
Are there any questions of Brad regarding the rental policy and rates as presented?
I have go ahead, Chris. No, go ahead. Private music lessons during school hours and after school?
Right. So,
can you explain that?
Yes. So we have trained professionals who come in, work with our students, provide lessons. Could be during during the student study hall advisory, and then also might just be right after school and whatever. So we have a flat rate they're charged, $200 per fiscal year, and then they have access to use those practice rooms at acceptance. And they register through the front office and all of that.
The non-curricular student groups that are not sponsored by the district, they can still use the facilities for free. Is that what this is saying?
So, okay, so let's go to the classes. I think that'd be the best way to answer that question. So if you look at the one labeled, I just opened it. I should have read it first. So it's the facility rental organization categories. If you kind of look at that, that's a good place to kind of look at that. So really we have these classes. So class one would be, just internal events, school activities, including student organizations, alumni organizations, staff, etc., including Lincoln Way Foundation, booster clubs. They all use our facilities at no charge, as long as that is just for normal meetings. Well, for students and all that, no. But so if they,
yeah. So my just to break down my question. So if it's not district sponsored and it's still students, they still are for free, correct?
Correct.
Right. Because we Fellowship of Christian Athletes, we can't sponsor it, but our kids do it, so they want to use the gymnasium.
I just was a little confused on the student equal access. I just want to make sure that even the non-district sponsored are still. Okay. Is there any preference given based on these classes, especially when you start getting out of district versus in district? I mean, is there any? I don't see anything on priority, or if I missed it.
Well, no. I mean, it really is a first come, first serve. So someone contacts us. So, for example, we wouldn't. The only priority given is just obviously district. So if we had somebody scheduled in for a rental, and then whatever the reason we really actually needed the space, we might have to say to that person, "Hey, pick another weekend," or we just can't accommodate you. But otherwise, somebody calls in 6 months in advance, they're out of town for a profit, and when we say, okay, they want to use our auditorium, and we write up a contract, we've contracted with those people. Now, an in-district nonprofit comes in and says, oh, hey, we don't have this fundraiser, for whatever. Oh, sorry. We can't break a contract and push somebody out for what we might say is a greater good, if you will. It's a binding contract. The only way we break that contract, we have language in there that says, hey, if the school district has a need, well, then we can break the contract.
So are all the baseball teams and everyone now signing contracts and they're using the fields?
Going forward, yes, we're going to be using a software program to help us with managing this, generating contracts, and getting those things done. Like I remind my staff, we don't build Rome overnight. We don't change. This is a large organization with a lot of moving parts. Will we be perfect on this? Absolutely not. But we're moving in the right direction to provide uniformity across the district and to make sure things are operating as much as possible.
Can we put this information on our website so that we kind of have something with our facility?
Sure, that's a good idea. We'll be putting together communications. Once this is approved by the board, assuming it's approved, we'll be putting together communications to go out to our staff and to the long-standing rental people, that kind of thing. But I think it's a good idea to list this information on our webpage.
And then, Brad, we're considering the 3 high schools. If someone wanted to, say, rent north, do we put them in a separate category because maybe there's more cleaning or something, or how do we address that? Because if they say there's a different fee.
North would have to be on a special case only. Right now, all the rentals for the field house or the field usage is going through the Franklin Square Park District.
That's fine. Just if some organization came and we charge them a different fee, they're going to say, well, your fee schedule says it's the same. Maybe not, but okay.
Yeah, no, I think that would be a special
I
really
agree.
good question. Really good question. Any use of the building would have to be a long term that we would have to bring back here.
Absolutely. Okay. And then, Brad, all these groups will have insurance as well?
Yes, so we have there's a policy, I forget, but anyway, it's part of the process. They have to have insurance, they have to have proof and all of that. We have those certificates of insurance filed. And we'll also use that. It's another good thing. Right now, it's kind of a real manual process because, a certificate of insurance can cover for the whole year. So now what we can do is we'll load this in the software. It'll have an expiration date when we load it. So then when that expires, it pops up and says, because everyone's expires differently, so they might give us one and their policy might only be for 3 more months. Well, then we'll have to remember it pops up, okay, we've got to reach back out and ask for the new certificate.
I also think it would be ideal to kind of, like we talked about, the parking fees going towards paving, et cetera. I mean, this is use of our facilities, wear and tear. I think it should be going into more of the, this should go towards facility and facility maintenance. And we should, make sure it just doesn't kind of get soaked up into the main budget. Because I mean, this is wear and tear on our facilities.
Yeah, these fees are recorded into Fund 20, and so absolutely.
Anything else? I still need a motion and a second. So moved. There's a motion, is there a second? Second. Motion and second. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, call for a vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote is unanimous. The motion passes.
Thank you for that discussion. Next is the Residency Investigation Contract. Entertain a motion to accept the Residency Investigation Contract as presented in your package. Second. Motion and second. Discussion.
Yeah, just give you a quick overview. We've been using this company for a while to just do some investigation, specific work on specific cases to do with residency. And this company has developed quite a database. As you see in the memo here, we talked with Crete-Money and New Lenox School District 122. Both of them have been using this. So what this does, it provides an opportunity for the district to run our entire student database through their database, which matches against, I think they said it's 7 or 9 different proprietary databases that they have access to do an address match. So they're going to check to see the address that is listed on our records, which proves their residency, going to confirm to make sure that that's the address, like the U.S. Post Office, the IRS, you name it, they have this access to these databases. They're going to cross-check against that, make sure, and those are examples, I shouldn't say that, you know. Anyway, so, and then when we come back with the list of any mismatches, and then we will look at that, see how we should investigate that, and then we'll be able to move forward in making sure that the students living within the district are attending, but if you're not in the district, you go attend your district school.
Any other questions, Brad?
So we're currently using this, Brad, this company?
We are using them for one-off investigations on some residency
I don't know
issues.
if we've used them at all this year, but in previous years, we have on selected investigations. This past year, we did a number of our own.
They're Illinois-based?
Yes, they're Shannon. Yeah.
I would just make sure that we have their certificate from the IDFPR, just make sure that they're on file, they're in good standing as a licensed private investigative firm.
So we've had no investigations this year? Or
We've done.
Not used?
Yeah, Rob, have we used them this year?
We haven't used them this year.
We've done our own. This will give us a list, and then we determine how to approach the list of those conflicts. One option would be a letter from the attorney to all those families saying, this has been brought to our attention, but then we would determine going through that list how best to move forward.
So, because this is a pretty large number that they say could potentially be illegally enrolled, it's 100 students. I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean this goes right into an investigation by them. I mean,
No.
we're just paying this fee to do the initial work,
To get the
and then we
list.
can decide how to approach the investigation.
Correct.
So in the contract, they have, as an example, workers' compensation as an investigation. That wouldn't apply to what we're hiring them for.
No,
That would be an outside cost.
You're right.
Those are all scalable.
So
This is for residency only, this contract, right? But they list
well,
several
they're
others.
saying that these are additional items that they could help